that would likely be the thing I would expect them to take away. You don't really want to give that to Doinb for free, especially when they also get to R1 their jungler. So either a ban or a pick would kind of be my expectation. You can't really allow an IP to have this super macro style. They're going to really thrive in that kind of environment. So we'll see what FPX ends up taking away, but it's the Trundle ban.
Trundle! Okay, so we might get a little bit of a trade here. Trying to, that's some of the meta gaming that I really love to see with Fearless and with the thoughts of best of fives and things like that. Like, a lot of the time teams are willing to give over 2 picks because you can only pick 1 in these kinds of situations. You can get the fallback on them. So it looks like that might be the case here, but the Varus is the focus so far.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, Varus is incredibly strong. I'm not surprised to see that go B1. Usually when it gets through draft, we're like, oh, you know, big mistake. But I do think there are a lot of power picks up. Rumble, Talia, you know, Vi still up as well. Xin Zhao. There are plenty of things that you can trade. Yeah, there are plenty of different ways to play. They're just going to lock in the Rumble Vi. So flexible.
Yeah, and that Vi goes right up the alley of what Naiyou wants to have. We talked about the facilitation from both junglers and that they will be really trying to set up a team. What's the perfect setup? Just, you know, hit your ultimate on somebody. We'll see FPX getting a couple twofers here, though. I do expect them to grab a jungle in one of these, but it's going to be the Gwen answer into the Rumble right now.
Yeah, I mean, these are the 2 major top laners. They have been all year long, and they continue to be. Kara's actually going to take the Galio. That's very interesting because it technically is into the Rumble. It's not going to be laning into the Rumble unless we see something crazy happen.
Unless?
Top and mid. You never know.
Because I'm surprised they didn't take mid lane here. That's all I'm saying. Maybe Doinb's cooking for game number 1. I do like the Sivir, though. We got to highlight that for Leave. I know we've talked and made fun of a little bit how he has been a bit supportive in a way of getting a lot of assists, but giving him a hyper carry in game number 1, set him up for success, get him that tool to really make him a carry.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stock standard pick if you're going to let Varus through. Sivir is like the cleanest answer in the bot lane right now, and it really plays into NIP style that can really isolate it, leave it on a 2v2 island, hope that Leave can generate a lead, and then, you know, take over in these late fights. That's been his role for a lot of this split, and I think Sivir is perfect for that. But as we see the other bans come out, things like Jarvan taken off the board as jungle still not selected for FPX. The Talia ban does finally come through for FPX. I'm shocked that that even made second rotation against Doinb, but
it's crazy.
Definitely important to take away.
That's why I'm so interested. Will it be the Rumble mid? It is the Wukong focus, so everything piling on to Didit and trying to make sure that he doesn't have something he feels super comfortable on, although this man does have a bit of an ocean. I do like the Poppy ban towards Didit. I know Kelsey Moser will yell at me or get a little bit mad about me saying this, but I still think he is one of the best Poppies in the league. And I want to see if he gets that at some point today in this series. But we're looking to see what NIP want to go for the counter pick here. Right now, they're trying to get themselves some setup as well as the Rel comes through.
Yeah, no Alistair means that Rel priority is very high, very consistent engage, pairs really well with the Sivir, and you don't have that easy just don't worry about the interaction type of thing with Alistair. So makes a lot of sense. We'll see how aggressive FPX want to go with their counter. There are ways to play this 2v2 a little bit more aggro. Something like a Renata could potentially be in the chamber here for Jwei if they wanted to do that, but jungle's going to determine a lot. We'll see what they lock in here.
I love that NIP are keeping them guessing until the very last with this counter pick, but the Xin Zhao being let through is just going to be the auto grab for Didit, and I think that's super powerful. We've seen Xin Zhao be such an incredible force of the meta, so much skirmishing power, so much frontal aggression, at least in the earlier parts of the game. And now FPX waiting to get their support.
Yeah, they need a bit more playmaking here. I would like them to pick something that can really do well in the 2v2. I did push that Renata. I would really like it here in terms of the way that the comp is set up, but they want to go for the Rakan. They want to go for more playmaking for someone like Jwei, and it makes sense from a playstyle perspective. He is such an important piece towards how this team creates fights, and there are very few supports that can do that as efficiently as Rakan.
Well, General Doinb saw the battlefield in front of him. He says, give me the old man with the bald head. The rise is coming through. Still that mobile mid from the setup that we called for him, and he'll be facing off against the Galio. So I want to talk about how that mid lane matchup affects the jungle setup that we said would be so important.
I think jungle, at least for both of these teams, really need to get the ball rolling quickly. Vi and Xin Zhao, neither of them want to be on the back foot in the mid game, but specifically the Xin Zhao here, I think really needs to play fast. I think Galio should have a ton of tempo coming out of the mid lane if he can kind of get that lane priority over Rise. The scaling on Ninjas in Pyjamas is very scary, though. Rumble, Sivir, Rise, so many tools for the late game. I think it's going to be a big one for Jia and Karen. I'm really glad we highlighted them.
Yeah, I think the early tempo, the bridge building, as I like to call it for both teams, that's the crucial focus, but both teams are building into their carries, and especially for Leave, he really is going to be the hyper carry for NIP, and I think trying to get him in a place of safety is going to be really important. I love that NIP are coming out with this first game saying, we're going to go with the safety. We're going to go with the fact that we think you can't beat us early, and we will take you to late game team fights and win whole-handedly. I think that's a hell of a way to make a statement in a best of 5 to start us off.
Certainly feels comfortable, especially in this meta with so many power picks being so strong in the late game, but it's all about execution now. It's all about what they prepped up. Mazel, I'm so excited. This is a great draft for game number 1, and I can't wait to get into playoffs here.
It's kicking off now. The grand finals, the final stretch of the LPL. There have been so many games before this, but now only one of these teams can step their way into the playoffs. It's a best of 5 that we've seen before, and it's going to be just as good this time. FPX versus NIP, game 1. There we go. That's what I'm talking about, Kman. You got all the energy in Suzhou.
Yeah, the energy is there. The excitement is there. And how could it not be for such a big series? Everything on the line for these two teams. We see standard setups here. The vision dropped. This has basically become the default start for every team throughout this split. But I think when you're looking at this early game, especially your pre-level 3, you need to see exactly what the pathing is going to look like and what lanes are going to be prioritized. There is a non-zero chance that this Gwen could be in a very scary spot going into a potential early gank if they did want to go for something, but we'll have to see what exactly they want to prioritize.
Got to focus in on JiaQi as he will be going with the arcane comment. So the poke build, I gotta say I would rather the on hit in this situation where maybe it feels like you can't get in and step up and you can go for the poke damage instead. So a very differing carry potential between the two. A hyper carry on one side, on the other, damage fall off is inevitable.
Yeah, it definitely does put even more of a timer on FPX, but I do kind of understand it in the sense that this team already needs to win in the mid game. They need to be able to poke out and do as much damage as possible to control those areas because you're probably not winning a front-to-back 5v5 anyways in the late game. So to see exactly how JiaQi can play it, he needs this laning phase to go up.
He does, but unfortunately, he will be forever pushed by this Sivir pick, and I think Niket and Leave will be very happy for that setup. But both junglers will be opposite side pathing, so we might end up getting a little bit of love down here from Naiyou, but I do appreciate the fact that Jia is going up towards this top side, potentially stopping off. Oh, I like this. I told you that he might go for these invasive setups on the Xin Zhao. He's level 3. He's looking for Doinb, but the wave just isn't in a place for him to get influence.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not an easy play to make onto the Rise unless
I appreciate it though.
Doinb steps up. No, absolutely. You want to look for plays like that. Again, the timer is there for Xin Zhao, and so even if you do disrupt your clear a little bit for this, you're not in danger of losing anything. You know you started opposite side because of the vision on Raptors, and so you really lose nothing for that play, and try and take a gander to maybe punish mid a little bit.
And man, it's just so crazy that just in the last split, the history these teams have in such a little bit of time as we perfectly spell shields Jwei's grand entrance. Those plays trying to get a little bit of damage back. There's a piercing arrow to get Niket down to about half health. Both supports popping their potions early. Oh, I like this. Naiyou, he's going for a little bit of a setup over the side. Over the vision, they have no idea he's here. This could be the sneaky play to set up NIP early.
Yeah, this would be huge.
He's spotted.
He can pull this off. He's spotted.
The flash play. JiaQi lows too late. He's going to cleanse. He's going to hold the flash. Beautifully used. The reservation, the ice in his veins. The Phoenix is on fire already in the bot lane.
Yeah, it's still a very nice gank for Naiyou, having to burn basically every summoner on the bot lane for JiaQi, but it's perfectly played to be able to get him out of there. Could have been a disaster at the very least, though. It's a win for NIP getting those summoners, and especially with Dragon spawning in 1 minute here, Ocean Dragon being the first one, we could see even more pressure coming down on the bot side now.
I do wonder how early priority we're going to get on that dragon. If we have been seeing a little bit of a reservation in going for those early objectives, but there's that sweet spot timer where you can start it and still be there for the contest of the grubs themselves. We do see both junglers going just back out for their second clears in the same pathing direction as their first. So I wonder if JiaQi decides he wants to stop off for the dragon early, but it's all about that prio in bot lane if that's going to be the case.
I think it's very difficult for FPX with this setup to fully prioritize that dragon. Again, just because hard for Varus to step up without any of those summoners available, but you never know. Some teams don't even really want to contest dragon, as you pointed out, so it's all just about what you want to prioritize for now. It looks like Niket going to be at least making his way to gather some vision in the area. We'll spot out JiaQi there as well, so we will see exactly what they want to play out, but for now it's just dancing around these objectives.
I like that we see Niket trying to get out on the map, get involved, because I think with the pushing priority that they'll have for leave, it's going to be a safe roam possibility, at least for him consistently, as we did see Doinb actually spot out JiaQi. It will just be a continuation of their pathing, and looks like we might end up having just a normal lane state, normal setup, but I gotta ask what side favors these kinds of situations, because we talked so much about the scaling in the draft for the side of NIP, the fact that they are loving that they don't have to do anything until they get their items in.
I think this is massive for Leave in particular. Not only does he get to lane into Varus Rakan, which I already think is totally fine for Sivir, who can spell shield a lot of the damage, but that Varus now has to play really safe because of the lack of summoners burned by the Vi early. So Leave really gets a safe laning phase to farm up here as we see NIP start up on this dragon. Naiyou looking to take it. Really no easy way to contest here for FPX because of the setup, so this should just be a free first objective for NIP.
It's going to be really nice for them, get that stacking going for this team-focused comp, the team fight focus at least. And that also means that they might be able to contest on this top side. JiaQi actually started to back up there, decided he didn't want to do so, going to stick around for the scuttle, but about a minute and a half till that grub fight. And who do you think this fight favors? I mean, we're getting close to level 6s for the junglers. I think Naiyou will reach that a little bit ahead of JiaQi, but that fight really tees off with these level 6s.
Yeah, the level 6s very much, in my opinion, favor FPX, at least in terms of the short term. Now, it's not going to be easy to execute on. If that Vi can land some priority CC onto the Varus, it could be very difficult to fight, but
this is the level 6
have
fight.
To watch care.
One of these junglers is going to hit it off this. Okay, Realm Ward coming in just to get them away from it. Naiyou going to try to lock this one down. Does have the smite. The engage from Niket. He got level 6. He has cease and assist now. He can go in. He has the level advantage over JiaQi. They try to get him, but these flashes are coming through for FPX. They get away in the nick of time.
Yeah, FPX properly able to disengage there. That's pretty huge. A lot of resources burned from NIP. That's going to be Realm Warp. That's going to be Equalizers. So quite a bit utilized there, and Grubs are still 30 seconds away. Should be able to regroup and push back, but the level 6 fight may be a bit more chaotic than we expected, so.
I like it, and I really appreciate that NIP tried to push the tempo with their level 6 advantage for Naiyou. Weren't able to end up pulling it off in the end, but still, some of the game plans you can see are there, and that's what I appreciate so far. Now NIP, they're looking for this mid-jungle combo. So we can go back to that conversation from earlier before we were talking about this importance that the mids are going to have in that coordination with the jungle setup. And that's why both of them have gone with these kind of semi-global setups.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I think it's pretty easy to favor FPX in the fight now because of that grand entrance coming in from the Galio. I'm really excited to see what exactly NIP does to try and take this away. I think Naiyou doing the exact right thing here, taking one of those grubs and then leaving the rest for FPX. You don't want to allow 3, but it's going to be very difficult to win this fight, so it will just be a pretty passive trade that I think is probably the right call for both.
Yeah, at least FPX don't end up getting all 3. They still will get the 2. So the grub fight didn't necessarily pan out in the wonderful fireworks that we were trying to set up here, but both teams just kind of holding on to what they can get here. 2.5 minutes till that next dragon. If NIP want to put a little prio on that, would be stacking towards that long-term objective for them. But now we look at the map state. We see Jwei moving towards this top side, going for a lane gank here, but Naiyou is also here going for the cease and desist. And Jwei is here, perfect time to save him. Equalizer going to be there. Naiyou going to flash out. JiaQi is here as well. He can get the angle on Naiyou. The flashes aren't available for NIP. They need to get out, but Naiyou about to give first blood to JiaQi.
It's a perfect counter gank from FPX. They have it scouted. They know exactly where they need to be and who they need to protect. And it's a big, big win for FPX. They need to make plays like that in the early game to really push their advantage. And especially the gold going onto the Xin Zhao really can change things that Tiamat now bought for JiaQi. Really could open things up.
He hadn't back. That's crazy. Just bought a tunneler and a Tiamat. That's actually insane. Little setup here, though. Moving forward, I do think the angle that FPX took there was really good to kind of make a play preemptively on where they thought NIP might look for something. The fact that they had kind of the sense to know that Naiyou would go up there and just have all of everybody moving there, and that shows a little bit of the engine that's running on FPX's side right now.
Absolutely. I think you have to be proactive like that in a matchup like this, and really it just comes down to look at the experience of the players on FPX. I mean, JiaQi, a big part of that counter engage, but you've got, players like Care and players like Jwei who have been successful here before, and, really just have a good understanding of what exactly they need to do, where they need to be, and if you can keep that read up, it might not matter how much scaling you've got on the side of NIP.
And for FPX, even though it's a small little lead, I do want to highlight that, maybe this series will show a little bit of that difference. It might be a devastating split for FPX in Group Nirvana. I mean, we could all see that, right? Like, it is tough to go 1-13 against some of the top teams in the LPL. But does that experience, cutting yourself on those blocks of some strong teams, really end up in the better of it? And that's what we're here to decide tonight. At least FPX have something to hold on to in this earlier part of the game.
Yeah, we're actually seeing more aggression come in. Ult traded.
Solokill. He's going to get everything used on him. He's going to go down 2. No flash. And Shu gets the kill. 2-0 lead for FPX.
It's a huge mistake by Solokill. It's a very greedy trade. He just sees himself winning the early exchange and wants to full exchange here with Sheer, kind of trading ultimates. But the problem with that is you have no clue where the Xin Zhao is, and so punished pretty heavily. And IP will be here trying to make a counterplay, but it's just going to whiff entirely.
That's kind of cool.
Out in the wrong direction.
Hey, it looked cool, all right? He put down the portal just so Naiyou could get there. But yeah, nothing going to come of it. A little bit shallow on that one, and unfortunately that just means no response really coming through from NIP so far. There will be the dragon up. A lot of pings from FPX. If FPX get this dragon too, I know it's only the first couple dragons going through, at least the first one to NIP and potentially another one to FPX. But that just puts a hamper on NIP's scaling ability and the kind of in conditions that they want.
Definitely wants to, you want to stop that dragon stacking. If you allow NIP to start getting closer and closer to that soul win condition, things get very scary very fast. This game is far from over, but this is exactly what FPX needed to do. They needed to continue to push their tempo, and with that dragon spawn, you can see some of those item spikes coming in for FPX that are not matched from Ninjas in Pyjamas, Gwen with the Rift Maker, Galio as well. Oh no, JiaQi has to flash.
FPX find themselves in a weird place, and that's going to be a big flash down, and that is juicy for Naiyou as soon as he sees JiaQi.
Yeah, that's a pretty big mistake coming in from the AD carry of FPX. It burns a lot of the resources early on in this fight, but see what NIP want to prioritize instead. It looks like FPX are going to try to contest this.
Actually, just trying to go down towards bot on the sheer. Maybe he doesn't have vision, and then FPX start up the dragon here on the other side of it. Is NIP going to TP in Doinb? It's going to be a 50-50 here. Naiyou gets chunked, though. He needs to be really careful. Cheer going to get flashed on. They go full in onto him, but there's the heroic entrance coming in to try to save some damage. It gets stopped in the end, and Sheer just goes down. Grand entrance finally going to be used in the end by Jwei, and the nice crescent guard is going to block away the rest of NIP. Niket is now caught out. He's going to have to use the crash down to get away. Leave is pumping. He did end up topping that on the hunt. It is bloody. But it is just a 1-for-1, though that does lead out to FPX's favor. They aren't actually going to go for the setup here on the bot side. They got the 1-for-1 dragon, and so far, pretty strong lead.
Yeah, it's a curious call by NIP to just full engage onto Sheer instead of prioritize the Dragon there. It takes them so long to actually kill the Gwen because Gwen, obviously a very difficult champion to kill.
She's immune,
they
right?
burn
That's
too many resources. Yes, Gwen is a bit immune, as we'll see in the replay, but this is a very curious decision. Doinb with the flash to really try and secure this, but even with the equalizer coming down, it's hard to really make this happen. Niket with the interrupt onto Care as well could have potentially actually been disastrous for Ninjas in Pyjamas if Galio had gotten there a bit earlier. It ends up just being that 1-for-1 trade, but losing the Dragon, not getting to stack those, definitely a bit of a win for FPX.
The double entrance combo not pulled off. As we take a look back at what she wrote, still about 1,000 gold here in favor of FPX. 30 seconds for the Rift Herald. Could be a continuation of that topside objective focus for them, and would end up getting them the feats.
Yeah, that's pretty important in this game, just in terms of how these comps are set up. So excited to see who prioritizes that more than the others, perhaps. But with those 11 power spikes coming in, ultimates coming off of cooldown very shortly, I don't expect the action in the game to wear thin. I think both of these teams are going to be looking to make their plays. FPX need to try and prioritize this Rift Herald. If they can start opening up the map, that's going to be huge for them.
And just little thing, I know I'm not the biggest, sharpest tool in the shed, I guess, the brightest brain, but man, the fact that Roa is still falling behind for Doinb and not getting stacked up just yet feels pretty awful. But he will eventually complete it just now, so the 10-minute timer, starts now. But unfortunately, that's going to be pretty deep into the game. But that's what NIP want. That's exactly where they want to be. And so maybe just playing toward that end.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not. It doesn't feel good as the Rise player to build your Roa at 15 minutes in.
But they're like, we're going to get there. Like, we are going to get to 25 minutes, right?
Yeah, you have to hope when you draft Rumble, Sivir, Rise that you're going to get to 25 minutes into the game, but certainly doesn't make those fights before then feel any less concerning. At the very least, it will be Rift Herald here acquired by FPX. Once again, them just kind of controlling the map as Naiyou continues to pressure out Care. At this point, with 2 minutes on the Drake spawn, I expect to see so much setup go down to the bottom side of this map. That could really be a big determiner as we see the Herald drop mid.
Oh, he's in a tough play now. Dede uses the crash, but now he puts himself in a tough predicament here. But it is just Solokill getting chunked out, and then they end up losing the turret as well. So NIP just ceding control in that mid lane. They're losing top lane on top of it because they brought Solokill over.
Yeah, this is a huge win for FPX, and honestly, it's a very decisive call. A lot of teams would utilize that Herald and wait, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to try and, get that Drake secured a little bit more efficiently, but FPX just say, well, we got it so we can open up mid lane. Why don't we just open up mid lane? Like, let's not worry too much about it, and especially with the combat power of JiaQi at this point in the game, it's really hard to try and tempo out of that. So, proactive play, NIP looking for a counterplay, but there's nothing to find here on the top side.
And all they're going to find is a destitute turret just out here. Oh, but it's going to be traded on the other side, and a little bit quicker at that. They're trying to get this out. Do they actually get it? Okay.
They should.
They're going to take some damage for it, but it's fine. And he missed the kill. Okay, it's good. Doinb finishes the minions, and now he's set up for this bot side. A minute until that dragon. It's an Infernal Soul, by the way. So much more priority over that for both sides. And this next one could be that step towards that soul point. And we are on about 1.5 items for a majority of members.
Yeah, I mean, the scaling problems are completely null and void if FPX can grab 3 Infernal Dragons. That is just going to really make it a lot easier for them, so they can still set up around these objectives. It's massive, but as much as we're talking about FPX having that lead, still only about a 1K, not even a 1K gold deficit here for NIP, and they have such a good close quarters setup. It's really all going to be about execution with 20 seconds left. Those items are in. That's still definitely a huge advantage for FPX in terms of the combat power right now, but can't afford to overextend.
Cannot at all. I think we're really going to start seeing these comps align with what they drafted themselves for. A lot of that engage potential on the side of FPX as well. The double grand entrance. I love it because Solokill is the one that can lay out the red carpet, but it's going to be, Care and Jwei that are going to be making the entrances. I don't know how that all works out. I've never been to Hollywood, but maybe we can get some people on the line. But it is going to be the Dragon, kind of seeded by NIP on the bot side of the map to FPX.
It does make a bit of sense. You don't necessarily feel like this is the power spike, but they could be looking for the pick on Jwei. shocked if they full engage onto this. Right now, it really just feels like, you know, NIP are saying, all right, yeah, we do scale. We don't want to fight right now. Maybe again, in 5 minutes, we can start to think about it a bit more, but I'm going to be seeding that second dragon and certainly makes Sol a much more difficult win condition for them.
It does indeed, but hey, there's a lot of time until that. We will also be getting the Kman as a little bit of pressure to be gained on the bot side of the map. We have seen games decided on that objective, and this is where I do want to talk a little bit about the setup for the teams coming into this one because of that differing trajectory we talked about going into the draft itself, and the fact that you have one team on one side at FPX who have had some struggles, no doubt, but they still look like a confident team here against NIP, who have been nothing but dominant. Now, he's going to get out with the heroic entrance on the bot side. My God, Care. That was insane. As he gets away from the play of NIP, they get top lane turret. And FPX, like, it's just a comp diff. I don't know, a group ascend diff. Who knows? Right now, they're having such a great early game.
And they're pushing down mid lane tier 2 here. They are trading bot lane tier 1 for mid lane tier 2 and top lane tier 1. All they had to burn was Kair's ultimate. This is a massive win. They got half of top lane tier 2 as well. FPX is running the map against NIP right now, and quite frankly, the macro, it's not even close.
That's actually so insane, and now they're going to TP play. Coming in from Doinb. It is NIP that wants something from this. They know that Care doesn't have his ultimate this time, and he won't be able to make his escape. That will be Care falling to Naiyou.
Yeah, at least they are able to pick up that kill. Sheer is also very much in danger.
He was thinking about trying to get maybe a TP play, but he's going to try to pair up with JiaQi. Here comes the Grand Entrance. Double kill coming over. JiaQi just sits them down. NIP overextend.
Oh, and the gold lead that you have gifted that Gwen ends up coming back to bite you. Xin Zhao Gwen is very scary to try and dive into, and they punish your over-aggression. Once again, it's just the fact that NIP have no foothold in this game at all to create a playoff of, this looks like Sheer is dead to rights, but Gwen is indeed immune, and even with the stun coming through, the perfect knockup and the damage combo from Jwei and from Sheer just make that an impossible play for NIP. Things are falling apart right now for them.
And that's a 2-item Gwen now with the Nashor's Tooth. That is terrifying in the side lane. I don't think there's anybody that can answer him as of right now.
Yeah, this is a terrifying experience for NIP because you can't play side lanes. You can't really afford to have Ryze start to push. You need to clump up and try to play these small quarters fights where you can utilize your ultimates. But even in those exchanges, if the Xin Zhao or the Gwen can get onto the backline, things can get very, very scary. Look at the gold right now for some of the primary members of FPX. It's insane. Doinb the only one that's really able to keep up from a gold perspective. So fights really need to be as long as possible for NIP to win, and I think it's hard to delay these.
And it was so funny when we were looking at the stats for the two junglers, because obviously Naiyou has been there a little bit longer than Jwei has on the other side, if you didn't know. But this is still one of the legends of the LPL, a damn world champion. And he's earned a little bit of that respect back on his name here in game number 1 so far. The most gold-heavy member of FPX so far, and they're actually going to start up the Kman. It's already about half health, and NIP moving over now. 6,000 down on it. They got to move in fast. They're going to lose this one so fast. The redemption's coming in. Look at Jwei. He's going to deny the entrance from Naiyou. It's still going to go over with JiaQi's taking it away at the end. And now Sheer is just cutting people down in the side. The Realm Warp going to come out, but it's a feign. There was nothing else going to come of it. They're going to try to find it. They get the heroic entrance. They try to lock down Jwei. Leave is still alive, but he has cost his jungler his life. Now Doinb moving over with Solokill right behind him. Low health bars on FPX. Can they catch them down? FPX want to turn it. They want to go onto the solo laners of NIP, and they're going to find it. Solokill going to flash, get the one from this flame spitter, but Sheer trying to kill him. Doinb going to run him down. Beautiful play from Sheer to get one back. Now it's Care vs Doinb, the mid lane duel. As the shield comes through, that's going to be the Saris pop. The sidestep from Care. Care feels confident here. The young blood, the FPX standout. He's going to go down to the standout of NIP. It's the man in the mid lane. Doinb with a 4-0 rise.
It's exactly what the doctor ordered for Ninjas in Pajamas. They needed a chaotic, long, stretched out fight, and that's exactly what they get. We're gonna get a replay here. This felt like such a good setup for FPX. Jwei ends up popping the ultimate and hitting the knockup early, but it's timed with the Varus ult, and so Naiyou actually is able to flash in and get this down. Unfortunately for him, it's still going to be JiaQi that secures the Otacon, but the subsequent fight at this point is not the easiest in the entire world for FPX. You get the dive in onto leave, but him surviving here is actually massive. Naiyou doing a great job to keep Jeja off of his primary carry. It's okay to give your life if you're going to keep your solo laners open on the back end. And again, now we just see the setup here for NIP as they look to get their second Drake.
It's deja vu, but it's Dragon this time, and now we're getting the 50-50 yet again. NIP feeling not confident, and that means that JJ will get it from the other side. Now they go for the engage. The double grand entrance, it's going to be there.
Equalizer.
Niket locked in the lock. Self and Sheer is now going in. They are completely snipping through NIP. Sheer is looking for his angle now, but going to get locked out by Doinb. He gets taken down. A piercing arrow from JiaQi goes wide.
No
a double kill for Doinb. He is 5-0-6-0 now, rather, and he wants more. Although he's no vision, he's walking straight into JiaQi, but he says he has the damage. He gets sidestepped, and yet the Seraph pops again. Realm Warp out. They are going to escape, but the hail of arrows did hit, so they need to be careful.
Doinb spacing is just so good, but it doesn't really matter when FPX have so much damage and they can choose to start the fight whenever they want. They're on Soul Point now with 2 Infernal Dragons. As contested as these fights have looked, it's going to get a bit more dangerous for NIP despite the fact that they are scaling because of these dragons going over. But all of that being said, NIP now have a gold lead in favor of them. We're going to get a replay on this fight and exactly how it broke down. This is completely controlled by FPX. It's really well set up, and the moment Jeja jumps in and bursts Naiyou down, this fight feels like it's over, but a really nice ultimate from Niket to really keep a lot of the rest of FPX in the same area. Solokill is doing a ton of damage on the back end of this fight. Ends up getting bursted down, but Doinb spacing the end of this perfectly. Sheer dashing in, not able to land that damage. A bit of an OC from the Gwen, but really at the end of the day, if this Ryze can step up, if the Rumble can step up, the solo laners for NIP can play, then there definitely is still an avenue back in, even if this was a win for FPX.
I hate to be the Debbie Downer, but if JiaQi hits an ability, I think that fight's very different. He missed multiple Qs. He missed the ultimate. I mean, that's like the 3rd ultimate he's missed already in the game. If he can turn it on, things look very different, but that is where NIP lie in hope. They are down to a 3-minute timer for an Infernal Soul for a poke Varus. You don't want to go to that fashion. You don't want to be in that conversation, and you've got to figure out how to pull it all together before they can lock that one down.
Yeah, it's a nightmare to face that combination of things, but it's even more scary when you realize they have a Gwen and a Xin Zhao who can just kill any of your backliners at any given moment with that Infernal Soul. So you have to make sure that you continue to step up as NIP. This is the time we were talking about. Roa fully stacked for Doinb. 3 items in. He's got the Seraphs as well, so this is a big, big spike for the Ryze.
Yeah.
Rumble is online as well. It's going to be a very scary time for both of these teams. You can't afford to make a mistake.
And I love it. We have 2 duelists sitting down for a card game right now. Maybe a little bit of Riftbound action. And both of them are pulling out their World Championship card. They're throwing JJ down. They're throwing Doinb down. Who can carry this a little bit harder? As they've both got a ton of the resources already. Sheer is in that conversation too, but he is not a world champion, I fear. And we do look at Doinb having 3 items completed now. That Zanya's fully built, and he's already almost got his 4th item.
Yeah, this is a 4K gold lead for Ryze in the mid lane. Doinb is massive for this team. He is in a position to potentially try and 1v9. We've already seen some of the spacing, but he's going to need it. This is not an easy comp to play Ryze into, and so that protection is going to be really important. I'm really looking at Niket in a lot of these fights on Rel, whether or not he's going to play really aggressive as engage or stick back and potentially try and make sure that the backline have more time. Either way, whatever decision he makes might cost or benefit NIP in the long run.
I'm interested at the Mortal coming in second there for Leave. He is going to be close to his 3rd item as well. He's getting to that point of the Sivir. You know, 3-4 items. Really is going to be that hyper carry payoff. Maybe be able to join Doinb in some of the damage that he's putting down. We don't really have much on the map besides a minute till that Dragon and the Baron up on the other side. Looks like we're getting final resets for this potential nail in the coffin fight for FPX.
Yeah, and the problem is it's going to be on multiple fronts. Baron, as you said, already spawned. Dragon in less than a minute here. FPX have control over most areas. NIP going to try to get as much as they can on the top side, but look at the vision on the bottom side of the map. It's already completely controlled by FPX, and they're going to have priority. It looks like they are going to send resources up to the top side here, but really FPX get to make the choice of when and how this fight starts.
Oh, the fact that they haven't gotten a third item for Lee feels really bad. You have 3 now for JiaQi. You do have 3 for Sheer as well. He has everything available to him. And in IP, they move in for some vision in topside, but immediately they are rebuffed by FPX moving into that Baron side of the map.
It just makes it so difficult. If FPX can also control the top side here, there's really no way to prevent whatever they want from being started. It looks like they do just want to secure that Baron, make sure that they have as much vision as possible before transitioning down to the bottom side of the map. Dragon spawning in 5 seconds, and FPX are in perfect position.
They're looking for a realm war play. We've seen this before from NIP. They're going to go for it, but it's FPX who are ready for it. They know NIP will not slip this one out in the shadows, and Sheer immediately goes in. Crash down from Niket. He's a little bit by himself. They got the heroic interest, but the grand interest is not enough. They get the 1 pick, and now NIP, they're losing their front line. Niket is not there. And that just means that FPX have the advantage here. They got the 1 pick. Now they can choose if they're going to reset and go back for this dragon.
I said Niket was going to be important. I was hoping he wouldn't just go in on 4 members without the rest of his team, but he gets burst down at the beginning of that fight.
They're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. Why not return to the well? But the problem is now it's going to be JJ and Care up here, and they have a lethal combo themselves. They're going to leave Sheer down to do the dragon. It's going to be low. He doesn't have TP to join, so this is just going to turn into a 4v3 right now. You have JiaQi coming over as well. Get some damage in. Get some poke in. About half health on the Baron. They go straight onto Doinb, who goes golden. It's a little bit of time bought here by the legendary mid laner of NIP. They're trying to get him. JJ, what was that? The mechanics from this world champion are insane. He said, Doinb, sit down. This is my time. As FPX take everything from NIP.
It's absolutely gorgeous from FPX. NIP feel like they have to play aggressive, but I talked about it. If Doinb spacing is not perfect, these fights are unwinnable for NIP, and we saw that there. Jeja and Care, I think, playing that just about as well as you could in that fight. And not only is it going to secure them the Dragon Soul, it's going to secure the Baron as well. Look at the way this goes down. Doinb just stepping up too far forward, having to burn that Zanya so early in the fight. Leave already half health, no spell shield, and then the pseudo insect coming in here from Jeja on the Xinjiao, just looking about as gorgeous as possible. It's everything you could want. World champ did.
Disgusting, did it. Where the hell have you been, and why have you been on a beach somewhere, man? Holy cow, that's incredible. I know it hasn't been the best trajectory for FPX from this guy, but he is showing up today. Now they have Infernal Soul, they have full control, and now they're going to go in onto Naiyou, who just wanted his red buff and will be obliterated from existence. NIP are suffering from an avalanche right now, and that avalanche, it has wings, and it's a phoenix.
Oh, Mazel, it is falling out of control very quickly for NIP as FPX now with that Baron buff are going to start sieging down the top side. The mid lane push is there as well. This could be a game-ending move here from FPX. Redemption coming down to top them off in terms of their health bars. Can NIP survive?
I don't know. The Baron is still here for 2 minutes. They have such siege potential. They're going to move to mid lane as well. No, they're just going to go for the end. Look how much damage Sheer does to the turrets. He's going to try to go for the final push here. JiaQi stepping up, goes for the Chains of Corruption, is going to miss it. FPX want to finish this one strong. It looks like NIP haven't had a say in this game. They will be slowly whittling down that mid lane and taking down this inhib as well. They could try to push for it, but they're going to back off. Niket crashes down it. Oh my god, Niket just gave them the win. That's going to be 1 by 1. The dominoes falling for NIP. Another one bites the dust, and that's FPX going to finish strong in game number 1. They look dominant. And now that reach of Group Nirvana, it is not felt so far in this series.
We talked all pre-show about how this is the time for Group Nirvana. This is the time for them to ascend back up to their own standing. I think FPX has another thing to say about that because they came out in game number 1 looking as good as we've seen them all year long. They played phenomenal here.
I gotta say, JJ, I called it when he walked out on the stage. That man looked cold. He waved at the crowd. There was no smiles. He just walked straight to his chair, ripped his chair back, and sat down. And damn, did it look good at game number 1. I mean, if that's... I'm sorry to say, it's a jungle gap. I mean, like a full-on jungle canyon at that point, and it might be expected. I know things haven't looked good for FPX. They only just brought JiaQi in, and he is a legend of the LPL for a reason. He's going against one of the up-and-comers, one of the newer bodies in the jungle. I think it showed.
Yeah, I definitely think we saw a bit of a difference there. Unfortunately, you know, some of the predictions here kind of getting thrown out the window with that FPX win. Hey, nobody predicted that 3-0. Perhaps things go a little bit differently.
It's fine.
It's
I
hey,
didn't have
right.
hope in Doinb. He was like 7-0 at one point. All right, come on. It's fine. It's fine. I wanted 5 games anyways.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we wanted to see out of FPX. I mean, you wanted to talk about, you know, the world champion difference. I think Judge showcased the world champion difference, the calm, cool, and collected nature of somebody who came in prepared. And, you know, we saw him a little bit discoordinated, we'll say, from the team in his small stint in the regular season, but they've had a lot more time to scrim. They've had a lot more time to play together. Perhaps this could be the change that FPX needed in order to get back on top.
And I'm going to bring it up just because it's funny. Where are we at on the leave was right train? Did it go back the other way a little bit? I think it might have. He ran that team to the ground. JJ was absolutely a beast in game number 1. I gotta say, if NIP are gonna find success, they need to have a little bit more proactivity in the early game. I think going with a full late game comp and saying we're just better than you, we're gonna make it there anyways, it doesn't seem like it's gonna cut it tonight.
You gotta have that proactivity. It's clear that FPX are not just gonna roll over and die. They are definitely gonna put up a pretty good fight. I do want to give a big shout out to Sheer as well. I think he had a pretty tremendous game on this Gwen. Really been one of his signature picks, and you know we're gonna see that. But look at the damage charts. My goodness, look at the gold graph as well.
The gold graph is what I'm looking at. It's less than a 5 minute. That's 2.5 minutes to go from like 1,000 gold lead to almost 10,000 and the game's over. Less than 5 minutes.
I think that's the frustrating part for NIP is Doinb makes one mistake and the gold graph swings entirely back in favor
or
of
JJ
FPX.
outplays the entire team one time, you know?
Yeah, very, very true. You know, you have to make sure to capitalize. I mean, JJ with just one of the best Sinjao plays you'll see in such a big moment. But it's really important to note that, I mean, like the damage percentage there is relevant. Like JJ, 26% of his team's damage stepped up, was a huge part. 96% KP, 8% damage percentage for Naiyou on the other side. Somebody that we were talking about as the damage carry for NIP just couldn't really step up in game 1.
And unfortunately, at the table where they're playing the Riftbound card game that is FPX and NIP, it seems like there's a bit of a counter world champion matchup. It's just JJ versus Doinb. It just seems to lean JJ's way. But if we also recollect back to last split, we talked about the history between these two teams. I mean, it did go the distance last time, and I expect NIP to get their ducks in a row here.
I certainly don't think this is the last we'll see of NIP. I don't think this is going to be some sort of quick 3-0. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think this team is going to really take a lot of the lessons from game 1 to heart, and hopefully we can start to see more of what we saw in the regular season out of this team, where that early game aggression does come to really fruition for them with Naiyou and Doinb playing off of each other. I think that would help a lot for them.
Yeah, and we could see some of it here. I just don't think maybe there was enough action going on for them when those first item spikes came in. I think some of the item spikes were just a little bit on bad timers, but also it was the fight direction. I think the hardest thing for me to see in that one was the desync of Niket and the rest of the team. There were multiple times where we're seeing him full on pop everything and engage, while the rest of the team is kind of split doing something else. And that plays into FPX's comp, right? They wanted to split the comp by going for this double entrance style, and it worked beautifully.
Absolutely. I mean, let's not forget, the reason that Baron fight happened the way that it did and, you know, allowed for the setup is because, you know, 30 seconds before, Niket full engaged onto 4 with no follow-up and just instantly died. So it becomes a lot more difficult when your primary form of engage ends up... Oh, jeez. It's just so perfect.
Clip it and ship it. JJ MVP.
Yeah, I don't even think. Man. Yeah, I don't even think there's an argument. He was so relevant in this game, even the flash to secure the kill here.
The fact that he didn't have a mark on Doinb is insane to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfectly played. I mean, you can't really ask for anything more from him. And, you know, I think some of the late game team fighting almost will overstate, like, how good he was in the early game as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, he, you know, played the 5v5 as well. He controlled the whole game. He was everywhere he needed to be, took advantage of multiple plays, great counter ganks. Just a phenomenal jungle performance from JiaQi in game 1. I
think he's absolutely the MVP. I think there could be a conversation for Sheer, but also with the fandom surrounding JiaQi, I think he's going to get some of the votes here going forward. But it's a great step for FPX in game number 1. I think that's the biggest thing is we were questioning which FPX we were going to get. The team that has been so down in the dumps in Group Ascend. A team that has unfortunately been on a extreme loss streak in that group to come back and look like a completely different team. The macro, the kind of map movements from this team, it was on another level comparatively to NIP at least.
Certainly. It really did feel like they just had a better idea of what they wanted to do as we're getting our MVP vote in here. And it has to be. Yeah. 96% KP.
96% KP with a 5,000 gold lead. Whew. Thought Doinb's lead was big. It's a world champ.
Yeah, this is pretty darn good.
The fact that he got Zins out, I was a little bit surprised that it was left open. Such a big pivotal pick as JiaQi rightfully earns the MVP for that game itself. And you have any other thoughts, any feelings for NIP before we get going?
I think I'm excited to see the rest of this series. A lot of power picks are off the board in Fearless from game number 1. I think things are going to change a lot, and we'll see how NIP respond.
Who gets Talia? That's the conversation next up. But if you would like to support the LPL, make sure you support LPL English, the unofficial product. Becoming a coffee member is the best way. Go support the project, and a vast majority of your contributions go directly to affecting the show, towards payments for the volunteers that make this a daily product, to the broadcast package restructuring that we've seen and some of the cool additions we've been able to do. Subscribe to our coffee, linked in the chat to unlock perks and early access to content coming off in the playoffs. It's been a huge pleasure. I'm glad we get to the most important part of the year, and your support goes a long way. We'll be back after a short little break.